Good morning, everyone. It's me. It is 7:17 a.m. on November 19th, 2025. Good morning. I hope you're well. So, it took me a few days to continue my recording because there was quite a bit that I needed to complete and experience and go through myself. And I have decided that we would start here today, even though the it was really difficult going through the stuff about Sarah R. Adams. It was difficult for me to watch, and I went through a bunch of different emotions about it, but it was in a healthy and good way, you know. So why are we here? Well, as I was saying, there have been a lot of things said as to were the reason as to why Max Spiers passed away. One of the biggest ones was black goo. Now, when I first saw this was back in, I think, 2012. It wasn't when it first came out, but it went under the title of Basis 25 Part 2. It was the Super Soldier Summit. She went by Rachel, but her name is Sarah Rachel Adams. And again, I don't know when exactly. I can't remember when this was out, but I saw it years ago. But look, I'm going to tell you first off that on this channel, I have talked about my experience growing up with my adoptive parents. And I talked about how even as a child, I tried to process as to why I was being mistreated and abused like I was, okay? And so if you can imagine that I have two cups here, okay? And one is empty and one is full. Hold on. I'm thirsty and it's nice and hot. Well, drinkable warm. So anyway, what I was saying is that I envisioned it, I saw it this way. Whereas in my mother's life, like a black liquid kept filling up in her cup until, and if I, her adopted child, is next to hers as her child, as her cup filled up, the spillage over starts going into the empty cup. Do you understand? So it would almost be a black goo. But I knew that it was like a malevolent force. But just wait, it's not something that invades you. It's something that you cultivate, over your life by giving into these things. And Max Spiers talked a lot about the darkening of the heart. I've experienced this myself. They tried to wreck me with that twin flame thing, you guys. Yep. At first, I really did think that was a gift from the divine creator. But then I realized what it really was. It took so much out of me, wasted so much of my energy. I could have been so much further today if that hadn't happened, okay? So it is a real thing. Like he talked about the, celebrities, okay, how they'll either pass away or take Robin Williams, for example. Everyone was so sad. They collectively get energy this way. They did that with Aaliyah, Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson. Yeah, with people's pain and sadness, right? Every time still. And even though, if you haven't seen the Uncle Pappy thing, I don't think he's actually gone. I think that he wanted his character of Robin Williams to be gone, but he's living a life somewhere else. They do that too. I know. But before I digress any further, okay, because he talked about a lot of these things, but the darkening of the heart is very valid and very important. This is why people stop believing in love. This is why people stop believing in their dreams and the things they wanted to accomplish, or even the things that their spirit tried to tell them when they were young that they just passed off as childhood fantasy. And it happens over some time, like I said, with my own adopted mother that I witnessed, It comes with things like, you just, let me tell you how to fix it. Okay? You fix it because it's almost like venom that gets on you, this darkness, this malevolent force. Let me show you something. This started to be symbolically shared visually on TV in the 1990s. So it says here, the Black Goo conspiracy likely originated from various pulp culture references, but particularly in the 1990s, such as the show The X-Files, where it was depicted as a malevolent substance. Yes, it is. I see it almost, remember the movie Venom? Even though Venom wasn't that bad, okay? It is like that, where it crawls on you, and it is difficult to get off. But the way that you become clean again is by doing the opposite of what you did to get it on you. Self-forgiveness, self-love, the forgiveness of others, truly being sorry and making actual change. Not just saying sorry, but continuing to do the same behavior. But that's what it means to truly repent, is to understand why these things are wrong and to change, to truly realize it. The power of unconditional love for self is very powerful. And this is one of the things that I did and practiced to get this off of me. Am I free of it completely? No. It's something that you continuously have to do until you are, right? I found this quote over the past few months that's been helpful to me. And it said, healing is not that the damage never occurred. Healing is that the damage doesn't control your life anymore. Okay? And so when you start to do these things that cause the damage, like reverse damage, right? You become clean again. Tell the truth. Admit things. Admit them to yourself even first. It's stuff like this that reverses it, that gets this off of you. Over time, imagine it's like those two wolves inside of you. That indigenous legend, indigenous saying. Oh goodness, I can't remember how to. You know what I'm getting at. So it says there's two wolves inside of you. One wolf is white, one wolf is black. One wolf, like the black wolf, is the darkness, and the white wolf is the light. And they're fighting each other constantly inside of you. Right? These are your two seeds. To be honest with you, I just saw in Avatar, in Avatar The Last Airbender, it actually shows with the first Avatar, Wan. It represents this with the dark and light. I forget what their names are, but they're almost like two spirits, and they're attached together and they're fighting. He interrupts them and breaks them apart, actually, and it's very bad. So anyway, but I just saw that. But this is the same representation. They're always battling. And it says whatever one that you feed the most, whichever wolf, it wins. So if you have these thoughts and feelings, especially negativity towards yourself, because then it reflects outwardly in your reality towards others and the world. So when you're feeding your negative seed, it grows through thoughts, feelings, actions, and all of that. Even just the way you speak to yourself, yeah? Hears it. And these things, it grows and grows, this malevolent force. That's what it is. So I told you about, so we talked about how I saw the cup. We did that. Okay. So now we can go back over. We're going to listen. Miles Johnston, who is the man who we looked at the article from the Sophisticated Elements, he's the one who gave this interview, okay? So here's the thing. This was when I'm pretty sure Sarah and Max were still together. There's no way that they didn't talk about it like this. And I really feel that what happened is that people that don't have this way to symbolically see, because even before she talks about this, there is a story of the Sophia, which gives birth to chaos, which is what she's seeing flying through space. She talks about this, and it does seem very out there. But if you have this, I kind of said that I'll be her alien translator for a moment. Now, I don't mean to give anybody the impression that I don't dislike her, right? But I don't like her. I'm not supporting anything that she's done over the years and her behaviors and the choices that she made. But even in this interview here, okay, and we could go back, but I need to get this part over with first because she says right here what black goo is, and there's no way that Max didn't know. So in a way, it did kill him, but it's not this external substance, it's invisible. Like I said, you can't see the air, but you're breathing it. Well, this is something that's invisible, but it can still get into you. You see what I'm saying? You can't see it. It's something that is in the etheric. It's something more that's felt. You know how some people say certain darker energies have a stink? That's what they mean by that. Some people represent it as a smell or seeing like a dark cloud around the person hanging around them. Yeah? It's something like this. But it can also be seen, like I said, like venom, and it gets on you. And it crawls up you. Like in X-Files. This fella steps in it, and it kind of goes up his leg. It takes him over. It turns him evil. And that's basically what we're seeing here. It's a representation, symbolically. Okay? So Sarah does, or did, have the gift of sight. A lot of strong souls are taken advantage of and darkened early, just like she's talking about here. She literally tells you that it happened to her when she was really young. Okay? And anything that happens in the spiritual realm, it reflects in the physical. So I don't mean to make anything like I don't know her. And I don't know for sure, but just the way that she says this and the energy off of it, she clearly experienced some kind of abuse as a child. Don't know what, but yeah. And so when she talks here and says she was injected in the spine, this has to do with the Kundalini and the Claustrom's oil. Okay? So of course they want to make dark Jedis. They don't want you to be a light Jedi. You see what I'm saying? So I have empathy and compassion for her. Anybody could have gone down this path. I'm not saying that what she did in any way over these years is right. But she needs help. She needs unconditional love, compassion, understanding, because she clearly doesn't know that she needs it. They get lost. And I'm going to show you, because this is what she used to look like. And I'm going to show you even earlier. But let's just get to this, because I always thought she's a pretty girl. Especially when there's another one where they're sitting on a couch together, and she's got this nice little flowery dress on. Not a lick of makeup. She's a pretty girl, okay? But over time, this takes you. I can't say how with every single individual, but it's usually trackable. And I don't think, well, let's just continue, okay? Because the more pain, the more it's harder to resist this darkness. So Miles Johnston just said, are you talking about the black goo? Oh. Sorry, y'all. I forgot to share the tab.
fix it directly.
Okay, what I know about the black goo is it started as I remember, I think my first memory of this is, first memory of the black goo would be when I was smaller, but this is probably the most, in my mind, the most.
Do you see how she's stalling? Because she's remembering. It's coming back. Probably little bits of flashback, and she's trying to resist whatever it was that happened to her when she's really young. I know because it happens to me.
Deep or heart-touching memory I have is that I was in space and I could see this black goo or this black smoke encompass Earth and all of the Milky Way system. It just like smoke encompass it.
Outside the galaxy.
Yes, it comes from somewhere else, from what I understand. It comes from somewhere else. I'm still trying to figure that out.
So
it puts you in amnesia also. I've noticed that the more that you don't remember. It puts you in amnesia. It's sort of like a poison. It charms you. I noted when I was small, I would see it on I would see people who abused their children. I would see on murderers. I would see on all sorts of people when they were very negative, I would see on them. And it would express, I had instances where I would talk to somebody and then they would say certain words. And then I'd go down the road and talk to somebody else and they would continue the conversation because it was that same energy speaking.
That is maybe not, but that's her experience, okay, with how it was affecting her, okay?
Through these people that it had hacked into. So it's an intelligent life that literally can hack into people and it can use them as their puppets. What it does essentially, it puts you or your soul energy in a sort of box inside you where it feeds off of it and it stays in your body and expresses. It's why we have so many murderers, child molesters, and things like that out there.
So explain how you were exposed to it. You told me that you
when
were
I was
injected with this.
when I was littler, I had an instance where I was injected with it, and I have the full memory of being injected with it. It's black welly. When they do inject it with you, they sort of black welly. It does crawl. It seems to be I could say maybe advanced nanotechnology because it does crawl around, and it's very very. It's intelligent life. I was injected with it, and apparently they were doing injections on us kids because there was a group of kids that had survived. These group of kids, they were doing all sorts of things on us.
Okay, now she's gonna say something that's disturbing to hear, but pay attention to the fact that she says she woke up from a dream. She was having a spirit body lucid dream experience. So it's not that it's fake. Her spirit was being tormented along with others, but she didn't go through this in her physical body. It was her spirit, etheric body, her energy body. That's where they did this.
Test on us to see if
what happened.
It started when I was a small child. I would always remember being in underground bases or taking away from my family, and my family wasn't aware of it, but there was many things that happened when I was small that wasn't normal. So I'm aware that I was made for the abilities. I maybe like because I'm psychic, I can touch an object and literally get the memory of the object or access the place where the object.
Okay. So maybe not. That's irrelevant. But I even said, and I've said this for years because it's the truth, I wrote a story when I was young, and it was basically the concept of the show Dark Angel. So I wrote this in pencil on loose leaf. And when the show came out, I was furious because I thought the guy stole my idea. But then I realized how ridiculous that was. But it's the same concept. It was about government children that were being experimented on, and I was one of the ones that escaped. I do have a recurring dream before I knew of any of this stuff. And this was younger before I ever saw the X-Files or anything like that. These are really young recurring dreams. I called it the tunnel dream, where I said that the one thing that I mentioned is as I'm running through the tunnel, I stop for a moment and I look up and I'm thinking, what's holding the tunnel up? Because it looks like it's almost made of like a glass. Like you can see the dirt through it, and it's a circle shape, and it almost looks like it something with high heat went through and burrowed through, and it melted it that way. Like you could knock on it, but you can see dirt through, like someone painted it with a clear nail polish shellac. Seriously. And I'd be like, why is it like that? But then I'd continue running. Yeah. And I would always burst through these dark green military doors. Hold on, I'll show you. Hold on. See? This. So I would start over here and I would burst through these kind of doors. And it was a circle type of tunnel. I'd run down here and I'd get to the corner. And there would always be like a horse tied up. And it was meant to like deter me because I really loved horses at the time. But eventually when I got past this and it stopped scaring me, I was able to get through here and get out into this big area. There was a ramp that ran out. And then finally when I got to the light, I stopped having that dream. But I always had this recurring tunnel dream when I was young. But that's it. That's all I remember is over and over again. And I would stop and I'd be like, what's holding the tunnel up? But then keep going after, like after I observed that. But yeah, like a glass-like substance. So let's continue this.
Is there's all sorts of abilities I have. Anyhow, as children, there was a lot of children, and they tested on the.
What type of children?
From what I understand, the lady had told me thousands of children were taken, and only not more than a dozen survived.
And what type of children? Were there different qualities of children?
Yes, they took them. They took them specifically from bloodline. They were bloodliner children, specifically. You know what? From.
Here's the thing. So there are people in higher places that can detect when strong souls enter this sphere. Okay? So what they do is they track them down. Usually it would be like the term super soldier are people who are more consciously aware. For whatever reason, maybe they've had more lifetimes, maybe for whatever reason, but I'm telling you that I've experienced this myself. The trauma and violence and abuse, for some reason, awakens your past life memories, certain things in your consciousness. I don't know why, but it's quite common, okay? But like I was saying, they've tracked these people down, and of course they want to darken the heart and turn them to the dark side so they become a Sith, not an actual Jedi. They'll think they're a Jedi. You see what I'm saying? Of the good side. We're not talking really Star Wars here. I'm using it symbolically. And that's exactly what happened to Sarah. She went to the dark side. I'm not going to say she was ever perfect. None of us are. But she's been fighting this ever since she was a little girl. And my whole point about talking about her is I understand she needs to face consequences for actions and all that. All right? But this young woman needs help. Okay?
All the way from African royal bloodline, all the way from different royal bloodlines, German royal bloodline, French royal bloodlines. It was to see which ones would survive and not break, and which ones they could upgrade to a point where they could literally use these children and the abilities that they have and also enhance those abilities. However, the thousands they did it to, there was only, from what I understand, no more than a dozen that came out okay. A lot of other ones, they didn't all die, the thousands, but they went out mental or some sort of things were physically wrong with them. What they were looking for is a person who didn't break physically, mentally, and a person who actually became stronger.
Yes, and Max also talked about that in years after. You see what I'm saying? So
from it.
So this has happened to you.
This has happened to me. It made me stronger instead of breaking me.
What happened with the? How did they inject this thing to you?
You know what? If I remember that I was injected. It was injected into my bone marrow. I remember right. Yes, it was injected into my bone marrow. I remember my eyes. I looked in. I felt. I woke up, and I had just awakened up from having what seemed like a dream of being injected with this black goo.
It was into the spirit body. That didn't happen in her physical body. She didn't see children in cages in her physical body. I've seen that too.
And it was very painful. It was very, very painful, by the way.
What kind of pain?
It was horrible pain. I can't express to you. They had to tie. You were tied with metal because of the fact that the pain that you went through. Would put an adrenaline rush so that you would move, but you were tied down with metal around the different parts onto this metal bed, essentially, and then they injected you. And the thing is that
a lot of the times you'll hear an alien abduction, there's the metal bed. That's because you're in the spiritual realm, and not all the spiritual doctors are good. We have Dr. Evils out there too, huh? Yeah. So that's what she's experiencing. That's common with that because they use that method. It's not meant to be particularly terrifying all the time,
the pain was really horrible. I woke. It's like I woke from sleeping. I had this memory of that. I woke from sleeping and my nose was bleeding really bad. I had really bloody nose, blood in my mouth. I went to the bathroom and I was just young, really young. I was like 13 or 14 back then. I just walked and I remember I looked at my eyes and my eyes started to get really, 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 really black. And I felt like I was being pulled.
When you say your eyes went black, are you talking about the pupil?
The whole. What happened is I started to feel like I was being pulled into a black hole. Like I was being absorbed by a black hole into a pit. And it was uttermost despair. And every emotion I could think of, every bad emotion, to the point of it was like the deepest fear I've ever had. And I was going there and I thought, I don't know what's happening to me. Like I'm being pulled in this black hole. At the last instant.
In my life, I compared my wound to it being like that. No matter what I put into it, alcohol, food, fun times, trying to get in onto TV, all of that, it didn't make a difference because what I was lacking was the love for myself because of all that abuse that I had endured for all those years. And what we're going to witness here is she kind of goes off on a tangent, just keeps going, and Miles backs her up. Just watch. Because she's experiencing the pain and torment that she went through in her physical life too, right? So I believe that, and I can feel it, that it's a mix. It's not that she's making this up. A lot of this is some of her symbolic interpretation, but doesn't mean that it's fake. It's a real thing. Like I've been telling you my interpretations of something that I've seen. Like that's why she says it's on the murderers and rapists and all this stuff. But just watch.
I thought I'm trying to hold on to myself and fighting with this thing. At the last instant, I was like, felt total peace. Like, I need to have peace in this. I felt peace. Like, well, this is what's going to happen. I had just have immense peace. And suddenly it let go. But when I had looked in the mirror, my eyes had turned all black. And then suddenly the black left.
How did it leave?
The black just stopped. Like I had an instance where it would crawl. My skin would move because it would crawl, and in the top of my mouth it would crawl. It's crawling all the time. My skin would crawl all the time with it, and I literally could feel it crawling inside of me. Well, like around a day after that, you
see, he backed her up because she kept going on and it probably didn't make much sense, okay? That has to do with abuse as well. But what she is expressing is the feeling of being unclean and dirty from whatever happened, okay? She may have felt it being inside of her, but it didn't let go. It pretends like it's not there. It can't make you aware of it. That's the thing. So I'm not saying that this isn't something that I've had to fight myself very hard, because I said this whole time, my entire life, I knew that the dark side and the light side were fighting for me to be on their side. And so I can only assume that it's like this for others, and it was the same for Max. You see? And the darkness will use certain people to torment others they can't directly reach in ways that they want to. That does occur. So through her, torment him. You see? So anyway, see how she's looking off? You see what I'm saying? Because she was going through it in her mind, even though what she was saying was coming out something different. Okay?
That's okay.
What we want to do is go back into the time you were exposed to this material and exactly how you felt.
Okay. When I was exposed to it, I was injected with it, and of course I was tied, or these clamps were put over on metal tables, and I was injected with it in my bone marrow. It has always to do somehow inside of the bone. I'm not quite sure why.
I think the blood is manufactured.
Yes, this is true.
And your life force is in your blood.
I have this memory of it being injected. I was in tremendous pain, and then after that, what happened was I woke up, and I was probably like 13 and a half, 14 years old. I woke up, and when I woke up, my nose was bleeding really, really bad, and I walked to the bathroom.
Strenuous instances, even when you're sleeping, can cause this. Extreme stress when you're sleeping. Yeah. So we're going to just stop here for a moment. I'm pretty sure that I said and explained everything that I wanted to. Symbolically, it's happening in the spirit body. You can see that she is re-experiencing some of the trauma that she went through as, okay. Yeah. Again, I'm trying to do this with empathy and compassion, because the way we end up all like this is through a lack of unconditional love, you know? Not just for ourselves, but from other people too, right? So that's one way. Okay, I'll be right back. No, I'm not going to be afraid, because she does need this help. And if this happened to me, I would want someone to do it for me, right? To show me this kind of compassion, understanding, and try to help. So we're just going to go, and I'm going to be right back. Hold on. Hi again, everyone. So we are back, and I'm going to continue with what I was speaking on. Now, I initially intended to show you this video to show you how I initially saw Sarah Adams and how I remembered her. Because when I saw her again, which was on Stephen Campion's channel, I had thought after Max's passing that she had just went on with her life. I did not know that she had kind of picked up the torch and continued, so to speak. But I actually didn't watch this, and I should have. This particular clip. I thought that it was just a trailer, but it's quite telling. Okay? So we're just going to watch it, Max is actually smoking a cigarette, so not judging. We're going to watch this. This is from Not My Rabbit Hole with Terry Joyce. I also posted like a long video. It's about 3 hours, just exposing Sarah Adams, which I did watch the whole thing. It took me 2 days. But this was something that I was looking for, and it's my bad that I didn't watch it again. I was just using it when I tried to do this video before as comparison as to how I remembered her, yeah? So I didn't want to get the whole video. But anyway, let's just watch this.
Bases 31, bases 37, take 1, take
31.
1.
Interesting you said 31.
Oh, lovely Caroline. A bit more. There, that's nice. Well, we're still rolling. Hopefully, yeah.
You're rolling?
Yeah.
Oh no. You have to edit that part out.
I have no idea what it is. Do you want to talk about what just happened? You don't want to talk about what just happened?
Yeah.
Lay it on the line.
Hold on. Sorry.
Okay.
Because this is you're suffering.
I get very upset when there's cameras pointed at me, because I think that there were perhaps times when I was younger, when there were cameras in front of me, that made me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. So he had a bit of a freak out. You can tell that he feels a little bad about it. It comes out like this sometimes in CPTSD, especially when you're in the midst of healing. Okay? Now, when Max passed, the time at his passing, okay, he had broken up with Sarah for probably about a month. He had said that he wanted to cut out toxic things in his life and make positive changes, and I believe that he did. I feel and think that he knew and felt with his changing life, okay, that he needed to also make changes, right? So he was going to Poland to work on a new book. I don't think it was ever written. But he was going to work on a book, maybe even have like someone help him write it, right? And start this new career in this life. And I'm not sure all the details of it, because again, I don't know them, right? But the two of them were clearly unhealed. I believe that they were most likely doing drugs together, and this is common with people. Max kind of looks high here in this interview, by the way. Not judging. I'm high right now. I just smoked a bowl of weed. But, and even Miles says, you're suffering. Yes. It comes back, these things will come back. With time and with practice, like I'm not perfect yet, but it's way better than it was even 2 years ago. It's way better than it was 6 months ago. Seriously. Yep. So it just even just the way that I am able to deal with it. I mean, are things perfect? No. But I was saying my feeling was right. Now, if I didn't say what a super soldier exactly is, because it's confusing, because I always thought it was directly connected to the military, and I was very confused, again, because I thought Corey Good was part of this, right? And so I couldn't understand, and it's not just judging Corey, but I couldn't understand why Corey would be chosen and not me, okay? This was a big conflict for me. I couldn't understand why. Like, what was I doing wrong? But then I realized that technically, I mean, I may not identify as a super soldier, but I did say that there were a group of superheroes. So what's really the difference? There isn't one, Even less soldier with Sailor Moon. I use that for a reason. Like a soldier of love, soldier of Christ. See what I'm saying? The Christ and all of that, yeah? Unconditional love. That's what Usagi is, yeah? It's a symbolic representation. Now, we were talking about the darkness, right? Even Usagi, Sailor Moon in the end, I have a short video of it where she defeats chaos. Sometimes it's seen as a dark planet, like it was in the Fifth Element, and it's also seen like that in, because like the planet becoming dark, right? It's symbolic. But it's clear that the two of them were not in a place where they could be healthy for each other. And when you love someone, especially when you know that you both have addictions that you need to work on, and I'm not trying to make them look like junkies, but even if he did go to rehab, sometimes it takes multiple times. And you definitely can't be around the people, places, and things that got you into that in the first place. Okay? Yeah. Now, for my weed smoking, because I definitely smoke way more than I should. Okay, I wake up in the morning, I start smoking, and I don't stop until I go to sleep. So it's definitely too much. Again, I've said this before, where I'm basically using it as a substitute for, it's like my company. It helps numb out the pain of being alone. And not having, like, I'd rather go for a walk. I'd rather be going for a picnic. I'd rather be having intellectual conversations. You know what I mean? Rather than being here at home smoking weed. But it is the pain for me, and it's one of the ways, it's like a medicine. And I like I said before, one day it's just going to fall away from me. I know it is, where I'm just not going to need it anymore. Like, for instance, when, say, the aliens, extraterrestrials, solar beings came to pick me up, do you think I'd be bringing the bong? No. That would be the moment. I'd never think about it again, because I would have that company and that fulfillment. Now, the following things that we're going to watch, okay, before we do, I'm going to explain it, because look at how pretty Sarah used to be. You may not think so. I'm not saying that I'm sexually attracted to her, okay? But I'm going to try to get a nice shot of her. But she's pretty, you guys. Poor Miles doesn't look too impressed, but he understands, I know. Max definitely looks high. Look at his pupils, y'all. So they definitely needed to be doing some healing. And you know what? Sometimes you laugh because it's very uncomfortable. And I'm sure that a lot of people probably don't want to discuss, especially those that were closest to him, because it might feel like a dishonor, but it's really not. Because I'm telling you the feeling that I got when I connected with this. Now, I didn't talk to him in the spirit realm. He didn't tell me nothing. It was just an empathic feeling, a connection, like I said. And I didn't really realize how much in common the three of us have. So it was that Sarah needs help, and he doesn't want people to end up like him at any cost. You know what I mean? And so this is the reason why I'm doing this. There is no, the reason why I don't follow Stephen Camion anymore, there's two reasons, but one of them is that I find that he's just way too harsh. Like, she was at a point where she was unhealthy. Like, she doesn't look too thin here, you guys, but I'm sure there were points where she was. And so now that she's put on some weight and she's healthier, like, she looks healthy now. She's not stick thin. She's healthy. And so he's calling her fat. She doesn't need to be abused more. That's what had her end up like this in the first place. Okay? And I know it may seem weak to give into your darkness, but you know what? It's happened to better people than them. You know what I'm saying? Happens to the best of them. That's what that means. Evil's smart and it's strong and it takes you from inside. And sometimes you don't realize it. That's what it means to say the road to hell feels like heaven. And the road to heaven feels like hell. But they make you think the opposite. They think, oh, all these things are manifesting. I'm getting all of this money. Oh, I must be doing the right thing. No. That's the devil. But they won't realize it. Yeah. So the last thing I'm going to talk about before we switch videos, okay, is that one of the observations that I've made with part of my own healing is that your outside environment, like your home where you live, will reflect a lot. I'm having a hard time looking at him like that. Not that it's a bad thing, but let's just move over here. I'm going to go to this Truth Seekers page and just show you the work that Stephen Cambion's done on this, because it goes back quite a ways, but I haven't seen them. You see, there's no red line. So I think it was how this worked. So when we were going up here, it might have been this one I went back to, because I don't think I sat there the first time for 5 hours. I'm not sure. But this one, I'm pretty sure I was there in the chat. I think that was when I saw her again. But I can't remember if it was this one here 7 months ago or that one. But you can tell that I've watched them, okay? So he's done quite a bit on this. If you want to go over, but I just don't. It stresses me out too much. And I don't even think he'd want me to watch if it caused me that much distress. You know what I mean? So I'm still subscribed. I still support him. You know, I don't dislike Stephen. It's just, well, I tried to get him to pay attention to some of the things that I was researching. And he came to my page finally and watched the frickin' loneliness video. Dude. Anyway, so he didn't pay attention to any of my research, right? So I was like, you know what? I can't with you no more. And I just decided not to put myself through the stress. Okay, so we're going to just go over to her ex-manager's page, so we don't freeze my program. And I don't think we need, well, maybe I'll use this video for reference, because as you can see, this is what Sarah looks like now. She kind of keeps getting, like, the plastic surgery with the pink hair is the newest, which is honestly, it ruins their beauty. She's not the only one that's done this to themselves. Linda Howe did it to herself too, and forgive me, she looks like an alien pretending to be Linda Howe now. You know what I mean? Like something in Linda Howe's skin, but that's still Linda. These women were beautiful, but there's something inside of them. When Sarah talks about that black hole, she did that to try to fill that up, because for some reason, the outside of her wasn't good. Look at me. I just woke up. I didn't even brush my teeth. Not that you can't even smell my breath. It's not that I don't care, but there was more important things than getting dressed up. At least I put on a nice shirt. You know what I mean? I did. But there's more important things than that, right? Like my vanity and my beauty isn't the number one thing, because I know that the most beautiful thing about me is my heart, mind, and soul. So I don't give an F what people think anyway. Oh, she's lazy. She's unkept. I don't care. So I'm not judging them in the way that you think, but it's a tragedy that I see this and that she destroyed herself. She looks okay right here, but they keep doing it more and more and more. And this is not going to fix how you feel, okay? So like I was saying, your outside environment, because I can't even deal with this part. To listen to her like this is very distressing for me. I'm not saying that because, so she was extraordinarily irresponsible for thinking that she's a shaman and that she can deal with these, hallucinogenic plants, and it comes from a frog. I've seen them do ayukasha, and literally the man just licked the frog, honest to God, and then he was just puking the entire time. So you sit in a hut and you vomit. It looks awful, like everyone's got the plague. No, they're just having a spiritual ayukasha trip. Oh, that looks great. No, thank you. But so what she did is she went to a bunch of, I think they were celebrities' kids' houses, someone's house, and was administering these drugs to do like a shamanic practice. Are you kidding me? She's not a shaman. I would never even dream to attempt of such a thing. These things are traditional cultural practices that go back generations. And they're taught certain plant medicines, healing, certain dosages. They can tell just by your weight and your fat and everything. They don't have a fucking scale. Excuse me, trying not to curse. So they're trained professionals. They've got the diploma, even if it's not on paper. And it was extraordinarily irresponsible of her. But again, this is the shadow self that takes over, your dark side. You might think you're a Jedi. No, it makes you think that. Evil doesn't walk around thinking it's evil. It thinks it's good. So my point of saying this is that when I saw the following video, it's very shocking. Okay? I can't say that I've lived like this, but I've had stages in my life, especially in my early 20s, where my apartment looked like my stuff just exploded. Okay? But again, this was a time when I was holding on to a lot of my problems and drinking and not facing them. So my apartment looked a lot like the inside of me. It was a mess. And I was just numbing. I used to drink a lot in my 20s, especially when I got back to Canada. Because I just lost my life again in California, you know what I mean? My whole life. I didn't actually pass away. I mean, like I had to leave that life behind. I couldn't go back to America. You know? Josh and I were through, you know? So the only other thing I can say is that when I was younger, I purposely kept my room a disaster to keep my mother out. She was diabetic, so she wouldn't want to walk, and you literally couldn't see the floor. I knew where to go. Almost like a safe path. But for her, it was like a field of landmines where she could hurt her feet, and she had diabetes. So this was a safe space where I could run into, where 8 times out of 10, she wouldn't follow. Yeah. Because sometimes she would, you know, and be so furious that she wouldn't care. But, you know what I'm saying? So, and a lot of people, like, didn't understand this at all in my family. They just, you know. But when I saw this is, yes, she does have mental illness, and I'm pretty sure she's still taking some type of drugs, because she even looks high right here, okay? I don't know. I'm pretty sure you can see when I circle those things. You can see oh, crap. I'm in the way, so you can't see it. Well, I am in the way, so I guess we can just I'm going to mute, actually. Um, well, what she's saying isn't wrong. Earth, air, fire, and water, right? The etheric elements did come together to create the plane. What do you think? God's a magician? And it just came to be? No. That's why they show you all of this in the forming of the planet and the circular stuff. So, I mean, Gaia, the spirit of the earth, the great spirit, there's this beliefs, it's not necessarily that what she's saying is wrong. It's just that she is ill based on her behavior and actions. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. I know because I suffer in my own ways, okay? But Sarah and I have major differences, okay? Yeah. And I think this is what happens, when you're placed into a position of power like this and you're not ready for it. It goes to your head, it ruins people. We see this a lot. But I mean, she doesn't look as bad, but if we go back, let me see if I can get her. Look at the camera. Hold on. I'm just going to try to. I can't get her to look at the camera. Hang on. So you can actually see her natural face. Oh. I don't know. There's a strange energy. Here, look at this. They definitely had a sexual chemistry going on, if you can't tell that. You see how her arm is like that? She probably was even thinner than that at one time. Because I've been thin. You know what I'm saying? But come on. Where's it? Well, look, you can see her here. She definitely doesn't look the same. Okay, I can't get a good shot of her. But she doesn't look the same. She looks like an alien of herself now. But no, that's really her. She hasn't been replaced. She's not a reptilian shapeshifter. She did that to herself in the pursuit of some type of form of perfection in her mind. But you don't fix anything this way. I used to be the type of person that couldn't leave the house without makeup on. I wouldn't leave. I wouldn't go. I wouldn't want anybody to see me. You know what I mean? Because I was ashamed of who I was, how I looked like for a certain point of my life, Yeah, it starts to get to you after a while, people's cruelty. So I'm just going to go back to this and we're going to watch what her apartment looks like. Because if you can imagine, the mess here you're seeing is the mess she is on the inside. And it's not something to put her down for. That's what my bedroom looked like when I was a kid. You couldn't see the floor. Now, girl, and she clearly, like, that is what, you know what I mean? Like, you couldn't see the floor, but I didn't have trash and everything. She buys so much shit that she doesn't use. Look at all the products and clothing, and she's buying things to try to fill that black hole like she was talking about. Yeah. There's stuff in here. You can see it all throughout the video. Hold on. Look at all the products. You can't use all that. It only takes a minute to put Comet in this toilet, by the way. I don't know what that is. Maybe gunk? Maybe the tub was clogged. But right at the end, there's like a purple box. See what I mean? Did you see that purple box? That's something she bought. See? Boxes of clothing, stuff. Yeah, bags upon bags upon bags. She's trying to fill that black hole of what's missing. So you got to remember, they are human beings. Super soldiers. Well, like I said, I think that there's a lot of people that don't realize that they also have a spiritual life as well as a physical life. And in the next part of this, I'm going to bring out the secret teachings of all ages, and we're going to go over the chapter again about the elements and their inhabitants, okay? And we're going to talk about how the elements reflect these interdimensional beings, okay? All right. So we will be returning in just a minute. I'm trying to think of... Okay, so I'll give you a little preview. So we're dealing with earth, air, fire, and water. For example, I was talking about the reptilians being fire, again with temptation, sexual energies. It's not always negative, but Max just expressed having some sexual things done in front of cameras, most likely. Okay, so this is where our chi is stored now. Our aether is with our creative energies in not the root, but the sacral chakra. Okay, but this is the types of things, the two lower chakras that they go for, these darker beings. Okay, so that's why you always hear the reptilians being so sexual and grapey. Okay, we'll be right back. Thanks for sticking with me. Hi everyone. Thank you so much for watching this section of the video. I very much appreciate it. And I know that Max would as well. What can I say? So if I didn't talk enough about myself. So for example, something that I recognized with me over the last few years, and if you're wondering, I've already taken care of this. So is that I observed that I would leave my kitchen to be a bit messy. I wouldn't do the dishes. Not that it was full of garbage, and I would always rinse the dishes and stuff like that, or fill my, like say if I made spaghetti, I'll just put hot water and soap in it and then leave it for the next day, or, then I might just redo it again and then save it till the next day. And there's a reason for that. When I was growing up, I was most vulnerable at the kitchen sink, and I was always forced to do the dishes, and this would make me vulnerable again to my adopted mother and my stepfather. So there would be that, and I know it's been many years since then, but there's still something subconsciously inside of me that just gives me uneasiness sometimes, and I have to be quote-unquote ready to do it. You know what I mean? But now, what I do is I make a promise to the Divine Creator, that I'm going to do this, 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 and this, and then will you support and help me when I'm, trying to express myself during my content, be there for me, kind of like this, kind of a motivational thing. But the most important observation that I made about it is what happens in your kitchen. You create food, sustenance for your body, right? Well, symbolically, yes, I am eating and I'm creating a mess, making, dishes and whatnot, but it symbolizes something else, something that is unseen, the nourishment for my heart, mind, and soul. And I know you may not understand, but with this, I see it as, love. Even though I'm being nourished from food, I'm not being nourished from friends and family and healthy connections and relationships with other people, who I would prefer who on some level were like me, Yeah. And I do understand, if you do watch the entire Super Soldier Summit bases 2025 or whatever it was when we looked at first with Sarah, she also has the lizard beast thing. That's a common. So there might be stuff that is true and accurate, but maybe stuff that has been added in, to make it seem more attractive. Like, oh, Queen Elizabeth again. But in this, which we're going to look at next in part 3, it talks about the salamander bloodline that started with Zoroaster or Zarathustra. But we will be going over that next. But I just wanted to thank you for watching and finish up, talking about this. And I think that was it. And I wanted to show you that I went and I got dressed and I put on my new pink sweater and my cute little pink shirt. It's got like frilly little lace on it and it's got little hearts on the pattern. It's super cute. So yeah, and I'm wearing moon earrings. Whee! So I just wanted to share that with you because I couldn't remember if I fully got to all of that. But yeah, so it's just another example of what I was saying of the outer environment is a reflection of your inner self. So yeah, I think I would like to leave off again with a inspirational healing video. Again, it's symbolic. You will see the star seed on the forehead at the end, and it's cleansed. So what happens, what I was talking about with almost like, say you're dark and light both. Well, say you have a light seed and a dark seed, and the more you grow them. Well, in Sailor Moon, these negative entities from another universe attack human beings for their energy, but they also turn their hearts dark and steal their dreams to turn them into a monster to use to attack other people. Okay? But symbolically, and it happens with a lot. I don't exactly know just how it happens with everybody, but you've seen it happen with David Wilcock, with Corey Good, with Elena Denon, what was his name? Billy Carson, stuff like this. Yeah. So it'll make you think that you're doing the right thing, but I think it's leading you to a path of destruction, honestly. Yeah. Like, David Wilcock telling everybody that he's taking pee baths. An intelligent, higher conscious being, even if that was a legit thing, which maybe it is, but it's not for me, would tell him to keep that to himself. You know what I mean? So I've talked about all of those things previously before, but yeah, thank you so much for being here with me today, and I will be back with part 3 as soon as I can for you. And we are going to discuss, like I said, energy astral parasites, thought parasites, and the 4 elements, okay, as they reflect inside of us and outside of us, okay? Okay. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care. Bye.